Alright, today I'm going to give you guys a detailed look at this Mezco figure, and it is Spider-Man from Homecoming. And yeah, finally decided to pick this up. Debated on this quite a while, and finally decided to pick it up. So here's the back of the box, and let's get. Alright, and here we have Spider-Man outside the packaging, and let's go over the accessories first. It comes with the Homecoming base, which is right there. And then there's the translucent rod and the clamp. And then here it comes with another clamp. This has a magnet on the bottom, so you can stick that onto your refrigerator or wherever there's metal. Then you could kind of have them crawling up on walls and stuff. And then we have webbings. We have two short ones and then one long one. This one is made out of metal. It's a bendy wire, so you can manipulate the shape however you want. And then we have spider wings. It's right there. Then I guess you could clamp this around his waist and just slide the wing portion underneath his armpit. And then there's the peg hole for the peg system. And then this figure comes with a total of 3 heads, which is awesome. Usually people will just give you extra eyes instead, but Mezco decided to give us 3 heads instead. So we have different eyes. One squinty one, and then one has a lot of black in it, and the one he has on right now is your generic one with the equal amount of black versus white. And then we have web shooter hands, pair of fists, and then this one is a web holding hand. Then you adjust your hands, and then there's one, and there's the other one. Alright, so when I first got this figure, there were a couple of issues with it. It was somewhat minor. I'm not sure whether it's minor considering depends on who you're talking to. To me, it's kind of significant. One is the symbol is not in the center. That happens to a lot of Spider-Man suits, even with Hot Toys. And notice the symbol is not in the center. Well, it is on the printout here, but the suit itself is not in the center of this body. And then the other thing I noticed when I first got it was the forearm of this figure. I'll show a picture of what it looks like when I first got it. It shows the sleeve itself, the red portion. It's actually over, because you can look at the other arm. It's not proportional. It's not identical to the other side, and you can see the red is it's overlapping the joint a little bit. And then I noticed the forearm section, the gauntlet part, is not completely attached. It feels like it's somewhat detached from the peg system itself, which is inside the forearm section. So what I am gonna attempt to do is to fix that, carve the suit off from the gauntlet, and then reattaching it and gluing it back down. So hopefully it'll turn out good. And well, I guess by the time you watch this portion of the video, you'll notice that it's been fixed. Alright, so here's the modification I did, and here you can see I basically pulled out the gauntlet from his arm, which is right here, and inside there's a little peg hole in there. It's not a circular peg hole, it's a more of a rectangular shape, so it doesn't actually swivel. The forearm section does not swivel. Here you can see the peg right there is a rectangular shaped peg, and what I had to do was use an X-Acto knife and carved it very, very carefully around the inside wall of this gauntlet until I was able to free the suit from it, because the sleeve itself It's attached using glue. So here there's some residual glue on the suit itself, but it's not that big of a deal. As long as I didn't tear the suit, I'm okay with it. And then now it's just a matter of readjusting the sleeve. Here you can see this side looks fine. The red is actually on the side of the arm, and now this side I was able to adjust it so the red is also on the side of the arm. And what I'm gonna end up doing is that I'm gonna apply some Gorilla Glue to the bottom of this, and then stick the gauntlet back on, and a few seconds should do, and it should stay put. Here you can see the forearm. Here's the forearm gauntlet, and it's aligning perfectly, same as the side. The web shooter, however, from this arm is facing forward, while this one is facing the side. I'm not sure why that is, because this does line up perfectly with the peg system. This arm, I'm not sure, but it's already glued down, and I didn't have to fix it, and it didn't have any issue with it. But this arm, I had to readjust the suit a little bit so it lines up perfectly now, and I glued it down with Gorilla Glue. And if you guys are wondering, this is the one I use. It's the super glue, Gorilla super glue. It sets in about 10 seconds, so you have to be really quick about it. And I was able to fix it, and this is what he looks like now. And the emblem is still off-centered. If you want to fix that, you could attempt to fix it, but I tried it, and it still went back to the original spot. What you have to do is take the head off and take the neck piece off. It's just a peg system onto the torso, so you can remove that. Once you remove these two pieces, you will notice the suit is just folded in around the collar section, and you could actually move this suit around a little bit, tug it around so it faces the center, and then reattach the peg, the neck piece back on, and hopefully that'll stay in place. I guess if you really want to do it, you could actually apply a little bit of super glue to the underside of the suit, and then just try to glue that section down the collar. Glue that section over the collar section, and then put the head back on. Then that way, the suit would definitely stay in place. Because right now, nothing is. They didn't apply any glue or whatsoever inside the collar section, so if you take the neck off, you could readjust the suit however you want. But for me, the forearm was the worst, so I had to fix that. But here, the suit itself, whether the emblem is completely centered or not, is not that big of a deal to me. Right now, I'm okay with what I have, and if you look at the back, he looks good, pretty decent, and I'm actually pretty happy with how this figure turned out. So let's go over articulation. Head is on the ball joint, and then base of the neck, there's another ball joint. So you can look up about that much. Neck, it's somewhat limited. The base of the neck, even though it's on a ball joint, it's somewhat limited as far as the range of motion. You can turn left and right, no problem, but up and down is quite limited. So pretty much the only range you have is from the top of the neck section. And then as for the shoulders, these are on most likely ball hinge joints. And if you throw the arms up, you can see the suit does bunches up quite a bit, and is not pleasing to look at. Let's see if I can focus in a little more. Oh, there we go. I think that's as much as I can go. And yeah, you can see it bunches up like crazy, so it's not that good looking. And I wouldn't suggest you leaving the figure like this if you're doing any dynamic poses for photos or anything like that. But if you just after you finish messing around with it, I would keep it back in the standing stage a little bit more, like so, or you give it some slight pose, slight hint of a pose, but nothing too dynamic. I wouldn't, because otherwise you might end up damaging the suit. And let's see, as for the let's see, forearm, there's a bicep rotation right there. And then here in the elbow, it has double joints. And so you can bend about that much. But again, you do bunches up the suit quite a bit. And this is painted rubber on top of fabric, so you gotta be careful. I would imagine it will crack over time if you aren't careful with it. And so as far as the gauntlet, there's no articulation right there, no swivel, nothing whatsoever. And then the wrists are on ball hinge joint, so full range. And then as for the torso, top of the chest, there is a joint right there. And then the waist, also a joint, so you could have them do an ab crunch, all that much. And again, the suit does bunches up. Or you can have them do an arch. It's a lot better. And you do stretch this portion out a little bit, and bunches up right there, but that's okay. It's only fabric. There's no rubber over or anything. And then as for the legs, it feels like they're ball joints, and good range, 90 degrees. And then there is a bicep thigh swivel, and double joint knees. You could fold all the way over, so definitely over 90 degrees. And ankles are on a ball joint, so you can have them pivot left and right however you want. Oh, that's a lot of ankle joint and a lot of ankle movement for this figure. So as far as posability, you could get them to do dynamic poses, but there are limitations as far as the suit is concerned, because it is just painted rubber over fabric, so you gotta be careful. You don't want these red parts to crack, and eventually I think that will happen. But for the most part, if you want your figure to last a little bit longer, I would keep them in more of these vanilla poses than any dynamic poses. And even if you do dynamic poses, I wouldn't keep them in that state for a long period of time. I would just pose it, take photos, and at the end of the day, I would just leave them standing like so. Alright, so now I'm going to swap out the head and then show you guys a dynamic pose of this figure. So I'll pop that head off. Oh, and if you have the third-party Tom Holland head sculpt, it will not fit this figure because the head is too small for this figure. For some reason, the shoulder on this figure is much wider for that head, so don't even attempt to put that head on, because it's not gonna fit. Well, I guess I'll show you guys. So here we have that Tom Holland head sculpt, like I was mentioning just now. Here it's on a SHF body, and if I were to take this off, just quite easily, and then I would take this Spiderman head off, and first thing you'll notice is that the head will not fit in here. And here, see, it's much too tall, much too large. The neck piece is much too large for this head. And even if you soften up with plastic, with a hairdryer, the head, you could probably push that head down over the neck piece. But even if you do, even right now, you can kind of tell that the head is a little too small for this body. See, the shoulder is a little too wide for this head. It looks so tiny on here. So yeah, definitely won't fit. So if you own this third-party head, don't even attempt to put it on this Mezco Spider-Man. It's meant for the SHF and SHF only. And here you can see the difference between the two bodies. One is so much taller than the other. I'll do a little more comparison a little later on. Alright, so let's see. Once you pop the head on, then kind of pose him, do somewhat of a dynamic pose. So something like that, or even do some webbing poses. Turn this body a little bit, then extend the arm out like so, and do some webbing poses. So yeah, this figure does allow you to do those dynamic poses, but again, here you could already see it. The abdominal section, the suit's all bunched up, and same with the shoulders, so gotta be careful with that. Alright, here I have a size comparison. First we have Mezco versus SHF, both Spiderman, and you can see the SHF is much shorter than the Mezco, about almost half a head shorter. Alright, here I have other Mezco figures. We have Panther and Thor, and I think Spider-Man is a little too tall, even with his own line. I think it needs to be a little bit shorter. And lastly, we have a comparison with Iron Man. We have a Comic Cave Iron Man on the left, and then right we have the Mezco Iron Man. I think Mezco Iron Man is about the same height, correct height comparison with Spider-Man, but Comic Cave definitely not. So Spider-Man is too big for Comic Cave Iron Man. So there you go. At the end of the day, I think this is well worth the price. $80. It's a good price for the Spider-Man. There's a lot you could do with this, and suit is nice, and body proportion is nice, and even just standing, you can give him a pretty good pose. So and you could do some dynamic poses, but again, be on the lookout for the suit itself. I wouldn't keep them in dynamic poses, just keep them standing like so if you're just leaving them on the shelf. So there you go. Thanks for watching.